It was our wedding anniversary, and I was dancing with her little bamboo horse decoration, not caring how it looked. People were staring at me, but I didn't care anymore. I was bored and tired of pretending. "What are you doing? Stop making a scene," she scolded me as I walked away. I turned around and gave her the middle finger. "I'm done pretending to be a good husband. I don't want to do this anymore." She chased after me, shocked. "We're supposed to be having fun. Why are you ruining the mood and leaving the guests hanging?" "I'm tired. You know I have insomnia. I need to go home and sleep." My calmness surprised her. She pulled me to the car. "I'll drive you home first. It's our anniversary after all." She smiled at me. Before, her smile would have made me so happy. But not anymore. In the car, I noticed the passenger seat was wrong. It was too far forward and covered in glittery rhinestones. "He likes decorating it that way. He says it puts people in a good mood. You're usually more tolerant," she said coldly. "Sorry, my bad. Let's just go." My words seemed to stun her for a moment, but she started driving. As we pulled away, I saw him, that man, jogging out to stare at the car leaving. She saw him too. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Go back to him. He'll be sad if he can't see you." She parked the car. "Wait here. I'll be right back." She left me alone. I didn't wait. I called another car to take me home. She didn't come back that night. Instead, he posted a picture online, their hands intertwined, with an IV drip. The picture showed their hands together, with an IV drip. "Stomach ache, but it's good to have you in the photo," the caption read. I recognized her hand instantly. Her friends commented, "You two are so sweet together. It's torture for us single folks." "What's going on? He doesn't seem to be in pain when you're around." "Bye. You're not even trying to hide your relationship anymore." But one comment stood out. "Shinsi, come back when you have time. I want to talk about the divorce." I refreshed the page. The post had vanished. I sneered. Did they really think that would work? Bai was getting impatient. He couldn't understand why I wasn't making a scene like he expected. But I had stopped caring about C a long time ago. The next morning, while I was having breakfast, C walked in looking cheerful. "You seem to be in a good mood. Must have had a pleasant night," I remarked. "Why do you always have to ruin the atmosphere?" "Is it fun for you?" she snapped. "Someone was just feeling insecure, so they asked for me." I nodded. "I know. So can I file for divorce now?" Her face turned pale. After a long pause, she said, "I disagree. Mr. Shin has always been and can only be you." I found it amusing. Those words would have moved me to tears in the past, but not anymore. "Let's just focus on driving," I said lightly. She was taken aback but stayed quiet. Suddenly a phone rang. The screen displayed Baby as the caller. I cleared my throat and answered. She slammed on the brakes. "Okay, wait for me. I know you have a stomach ache." I cut her off by unbuckling my seatbelt. "I understand. I'll go back by myself." Ignoring her expression, I hailed a cab behind us and got in. C hesitated for a moment before driving away. The woman in the driver's seat scoffed. "You think I'm your personal driver?" "I can be your driver too," I replied, glancing at her. "I told you before, you're the type who wouldn't turn back even if you hit a wall. A woman like C, you can't bear to part with." "It's time to let go, isn't it?" I said with a sigh. "I'm ready to leave." Chin slammed on the brakes and pulled over, looking at me in shock. "Are you serious?" "I'm tired, Chin. Being Mr. Shin isn't easy. I want to change tracks," I said casually. "It'll help you become the head of the Chin family. You can kick Chin-si out. How about that?" It took Chin a while to respond. "You're serious? How much do you want?" 80% of the fortune," I chuckled. "Sure, as long as you can do it. Wait for my good news. Now take me back. I'm really tired." Chin didn't say a word and drove me home. On the way, I closed my eyes to rest, thinking about how this all started. The Shin family knew about Chen's background, but C didn't care. When I got home and finished my bath, C came back. She brought a big bouquet of flowers and handed me a box. The card in the bouquet was signed Mr. M. Inside the box was a lily brooch. I tossed the gifts aside and turned my back. That's enough. I'm back now. G isn't feeling well and their family is abroad, so they could only turn to me. C explained. Oh, sleep. I'm very tired. I covered myself with the quilt. C was speechless. After a long time, I felt the mattress sink beside me. Her hands wrapped around my waist as she leaned in, the scent of gardenia wafting from her body. Suddenly, I felt nauseous. I pushed her hand away. C couldn't help but turn on the light, angrily saying, "What's wrong with you?" I pulled back the blanket and looked at her. "C, it's early morning. Can you let me sleep? I've told you before, insomnia is not pleasant." "Forget it. I'll go to the guest room." I got up and left, ignoring the sound of breaking glass behind me. Did Chin really think I was jealous and causing trouble? I just didn't want to get involved with C anymore. Even saying one more word felt disgusting. I didn't expect C to get excited before bed. She posted on her social media, "Boring and rigid. When will I be free?" G immediately replied, "I'm here. Don't worry." I liked the post and commented, "Giving you freedom." Soon, I heard a door slamming. I had upset her again. Whatever. I transferred $200,000 on my phone and slept peacefully. The next morning, my phone received several intimate photos of C meeting G last night. With these, I could propose my conditions with peace of mind. I went to the company early in the morning. From afar, I could hear people discussing. Last night was the boss's wedding anniversary. Seeing her with G, they are a match made in heaven. Those who don't know would think they're a couple. Poor Schwa is living a lonely life. At first, Schwa relied on his family background to force a marriage, but now it's backfired, making him lose face. I scoffed, startling them. They turned around, their faces pale. I walked over and looked at them. Unfortunately, no matter how embarrassing it is, I am still the original partner with a net worth of over $100 million. You should pray that I don't get a divorce. Otherwise, I will take half of the assets and she will have to lay off employees. People like you, whose values are as distorted as your facial features, will be expelled from the first tier. They fell silent. I pushed open C's office. "Let's talk." C gently coaxed on the phone. "I'll have lunch with you at noon." "Okay, good." After hanging up, she felt awkward. I knocked on the table. "I don't care what your relationship with him is, but you need to tone it down in public." I threw the photo on the table. "A reporter gave this to me. I paid to suppress it. Reimburse me." C turned pale when she saw the photo. "It's not what you think. I just had a little too much to drink." I waved my hand. "No need to explain. Give me 20 million. She took a deep breath. Soon, 20 million arrived in my account. I breathed a sigh of relief. "Also, give me the Manu project," I demanded. She sat up straight. "The brand Manon has someone in charge. I can give you others." "Okay, then give me Cha Media." I settled for second best and chose Luke One Media Company. If I didn't leave room for negotiation, C wouldn't agree to my requests. She hesitated for a moment before agreeing. "Good." I smiled. "Don't rush. I have conditions." She frowned. "My photo is worth as much. You are not worth it, but the reputation of the Chin family and the company shares are worth much more than this." I leaned back on the sofa and looked at her. "Let's take a photo together. The company is stable. The rear can't collapse." I shook my phone. "What happened yesterday has already spread today. Mom called and asked you to come back for dinner. You don't want to get beaten, do you, Chin?" C bit down on her back molars. I patted her face. "Be natural, or you'll give yourself away." I took a group photo with her phone and uploaded it to social media. I laughed. If you don't have the strength, don't act cheap. Just as I was about to leave, a sudden force pushed me away. A loud bang echoed and a flower pot fell right where I had been, startling me into a cold sweat. I looked up but saw no one. At that moment, a picture came through on my phone. When I opened it, my hand shook and I dropped my phone in fear. It was a photo of my dog, covered in blood. "You are being threatened," Zining said. "I know it's not an accident." Without looking back, I took a deep breath. "It's okay. Some people are desperate." Zining hugged her arms. "What about showing off love? Please calm down. Do you know what I have obtained?" "What could it be? Shares?" I asked. "There are no shares, but there is this." I slapped a contract on her. Zining was surprised. "A media company. What's so special about being lukewarm? I have already talked to several top influencers. Traffic is king. Additionally, the short drama script is also in the process of refinement. Making money quickly is the true way. What Chintzy does takes a long time with slow returns," I explained. Zining scoffed, but agreed. "Fine. I have a few film and television copyrights in hand, so it's up to you from here." I smiled and went to the Chin residence with her. On the way, I sent a video, which showed my mother-in-law asking me to come back for dinner. It was only visible to G. When we arrived at the Chin residence, G was standing at the door with a gift box, but the butler wouldn't let him in. "I just want to see my aunt. I have no other intentions. Please let me in," G pleaded. Zining and I exchanged a glance. "Let him in, or else he'll go crying to C saying we bullied him." "We won't carry that pot," she said. The butler gave G a meaningful glance but had to let him in. As he entered, G lowered his voice. "Don't think that just because you cling to C, you can win her heart." I smirked. "What do I want her heart for? What I want is money." Seeing that I didn't respond, G thought he had the upper hand. He glared at me and marched inside. "Zeho is here. What about Chin? Is that girl not keeping her word?" my mother-in-law asked, bypassing G and walking straight towards me. She may not have been my biggest fan, but compared to G, I was still more presentable in her eyes. I flashed a smile. "We got together on the way here. Chin can only come over after finishing work, so let's wait a bit longer." I deliberately glanced at G. "Mr. Chin, you seem to have a lot of free time today. I heard from Chin that you've been getting cozy with a female celebrity recently. Is there good news on the horizon?" Chin's face flushed red as his mother stared him down. "No wonder you were so skilled when dancing with Chin. Turns out you had someone to practice with. If you chase fish, you'll catch shrimp. If you chase shrimp, you'll end up with turtles. Stick to your own kind." G's face burned with shame and anger. I was a bit surprised. I hadn't expected my mother-in-law to be so adept at scolding him. He didn't dare breathe a word in front of her, only able to clench his fists. Suddenly, a voice from the doorway announced, "Mrs. Chin is back." G's eyes lit up and he immediately rushed out. My mother-in-law couldn't help but get angry. She turned to me and said, "Look at you, and then look at her. That's your wife." "Don't worry, Mom. She's my wife. She can't escape from my grasp," I reassured her. My mother-in-law sighed, feeling helpless. G glanced in my direction, feeling wronged, and then looked at Chin. She walked in with a face so dark it seemed like water could drip from it. She patted G's hand and pulled him inside. As soon as they entered, she confronted me. "You bullied him again." "Who dares to bully him?" my mother-in-law interjected. "See, you need to understand that today is a family gathering. If it weren't for Zeho, could you have gotten away scot-free after yesterday's big fuss?" She continued, frustrated. "Your dad's phone was bombarded by uncles and business partners early this morning. They think you found a—" She turned to G. "I won't keep you. Please leave." Mother-in-law's eviction order left no room for argument. No matter how unhappy C was, she couldn't embarrass her mother in front of everyone. She could only console G, saying, "You go back first. I'll arrange to meet you again later." G had no choice but to leave. Chin was also called upstairs. I don't know what my father-in-law said to her, but during dinner, she had a gloomy face. Still, she consciously helped me serve the dishes. Zining smiled slightly. "The outside world says your relationship isn't great, but it seems not bad after all." I nodded. "Don't believe those nonsensical things from outside." Zining looked at me with an ambiguous smile as C picked up a piece of peanut oil pastry for me. Seeing it, I raised my eyebrows and simply pushed the dish aside. She frowned. "What's wrong? Do you dislike me?" Zining used a spoon to scoop the pastry into her own bowl. "He's allergic to peanuts. Didn't you know?" C was instantly dumbfounded. "I'm sorry. I forgot. You eat shrimp. You like this the most." Zining smiled again. "Chin, you should pay more attention to your husband. He doesn't like shrimp. What he likes is mandarin fish." She gave me a piece of fish. "Thank you, sister," I said. "You're welcome." Chin could no longer sit still. With a light cough, she said, "I didn't expect you to understand my husband better than I do." Of course, Zeho and I are alumni. We graduated from the same school and were partners in the student council. C's face turned green. I peeled a shrimp and placed it on Xining's plate. "I remember you love garlic shrimp the most." We exchanged a smile while C had a sour expression on the side. After finishing the meal, C sent me back. On the way, she asked, "Were you and Zining always this close?" "Just ordinary," I replied casually. I patted C's shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry. It's impossible for anything to happen between me and Zining." Only then did she feel at ease. Little did she know, my next thought was, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and nothing is ever set in stone." For the sake of profit, I could turn hostility into harmony with Zining. But C had never been able to understand this. At that moment, I noticed G's car seemed to be having issues at the intersection ahead. I raised my eyebrows as C immediately stopped our car and ran to G's side. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw G shake her sleeve, C's face full of a tenderness I had never seen her show me. After a while, G noticed me walking over. "Sorry, Mr. Schwa, my car broke down. Would you mind giving me a ride?" My response left him stunned. "I don't mind. C, you can stay here with him. I'll take your car and leave." G broke down emotionally in the apartment, claiming he was struggling with mental health issues. C was torn, trying to comfort her mother while looking for G and dealing with me. I immersed myself in work daily. Whenever C wanted to talk, I made excuses about my workload and avoided her. Eventually, she realized my feelings had changed. A month later, several influencers I had mentored successfully transitioned into short-form video content. They generated impressive revenue for me within just 24 hours of going live. This achievement gained widespread attention, and I received much praise. While my personal life was challenging, my career was flourishing. Zining gave me a compliment. "I must say, your strategy worked well. How did you know G would show up?" I showed her my phone. "He's always trying to compete with me, convinced that childhood connections trump everything else." I wanted him to understand that despite over a decade of friendship, C didn't choose him initially. He never stood a chance. "Don't say that. Only those who aren't chosen feel like outsiders. I am the officially recognized partner," Zining remarked, looking at me with admiration. "You're really impressive. What's your next move? It seems she might change her mind. Would you reconcile with her?" I rolled my eyes. "No thanks. What about you? You're almost finished over there, right?" Zining smiled. "Whenever you make your move, everything will fall into place." I let C continue with her illusions. Zining and I shared a knowing glance. The media company. I leaned back in my chair. To be honest, I don't think much of someone like C. If you can handle it, once the matter is settled, I will step back and won't see her again. Really? G looked at me intently. I value efficiency. I'll only give you 3 days. If C doesn't sign in 3 days, I'll look for someone else. I got up to leave. After all this time, only you can make C see you in a new light. Don't let me down. G's lips curled into a smile. Don't worry. I will definitely make C unable to leave me. I nodded and left. C was in utter chaos. Within the company, Xining pressed hard against her, launching a siege. Her project was completely swallowed by Xining. Meanwhile, I had G force her to sign the divorce agreement. Outside, reporters and netizens were cursing at her. She could no longer bear it. 3 days later, she compromised. Early in the morning, we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau. CI's eyes were red and her expression haggard. She looked at me and said, "Zeho, is there really no possibility for us at all?" "No, C. After 3 years of marriage, I believe I have done all that is required of me as Mr. Shin," I replied firmly. "It's time for us to go our separate ways. You have G now, and I have my own future to consider." She lowered her gaze, tears streaming down her face as she signed the divorce papers with a shaking hand. I watched impassively, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. It was finally over. As we walked out of the bureau, I turned to her one last time. "Take care of yourself, C. I wish you well." Without waiting for her response, I strode away, ready to embrace the new chapter in my life. The world was mine for the taking, and I was determined to make the most of it. I looked at C coldly. "It is you who has tainted this marriage. I have a cleanliness obsession, C. You are dirty. I no longer want you." C had tears in her eyes as she signed the agreement and completed the formalities. When she walked out the door, she suddenly cried out loudly. I had never seen her like this before and wanted to comfort her with a few words. But after thinking it over, I decided to let it go. I quickly divorced C, divided the assets, and completely removed the media company from the Chin family's business. Xining also took action at the right time, attributing all of this to C's improper conduct, which brought a negative impact to the company. The joint board of directors held a shareholders' meeting and directly kicked her out. C saw the scene and, realizing it later, finally understood that everything was our scheme. She ran to the company to find me. "Zeho, this is all a trap you set up, right?" I looked at her and smiled. "What trap did I set? Was it me who sent you to his bed, or was it me who held your head and kissed him? See, you have no sense of boundaries. If you like him, then marry him. Why come to me for a blind date? You not only ruined G's life, but you also ruined mine. But it's okay. Stop the losses in time." C looked at me, biting her teeth tightly. "No way. You still love me. I don't believe it." I looked at her with a hint of disdain in my eyes. "I used to, but now I have money and I'm young. What do I want that I can't have? Why do I have to find you?" I clapped my hands and had her dragged out. Later I found out that C was pregnant with G's child. He threatened her with the child, saying he would expose her otherwise. "Since we're going to die, let's go down together." Although Father Chin and Mother Chin were angry, after all, she was their own daughter. They couldn't do anything to her and could only sacrifice me. What they didn't expect was that I actually knew all of this in advance and quickly divided the inheritance. Now that I was divorced, they finally realized how ruthless my revenge could be. I teamed up with Xining to kick C out of the core power and took away half of her worth. I separated the most profitable project of the Chin family. Only then did C realize that I truly hated her to the point of wanting her to be completely unable to turn over. The Chin family had no choice but to reluctantly bring G back. The media arrived at the news, all saying that G was forcing his way into a wealthy family by threatening to die again, fantasizing that a father relies on his son for glory. Little did C came to find me several times, which made G very jealous. He grabbed her and insisted on getting a clear explanation. The two started arguing on the street. C was extremely angry and suddenly pushed him. G dodged back, causing her to roll down the stairs, losing the child she had been carrying for 3 months. C collapsed. Due to her special constitution, after losing the child this time, she would no longer be able to conceive. This blow made her unable to help but stab forward with a knife. G was seriously injured. C was also stabbed several times by him in return. Just as my short play was reaching its peak once again, I received a call from Chin's mother. She said that C was in critical condition and wanted to see me. I originally wanted to refuse, but after thinking it over, I went anyway. C was lying on the hospital bed with a bandage on her chest, barely breathing. When she saw me, her eyes suddenly lit up. "You came to see me?" I nodded. "I came to see if someone like you would face retribution." My words left her momentarily stunned, and then she smiled. "Yes, you hate me. I do hate you. But now that I think about it, you aren't worth my hatred at all. I no longer have you in my heart," I said coldly. "When you trampled my face into the ground time and again, I was thinking, what kind of nonsense was I in love with before? Does this person have any sense of shame at all? Since you married me but did not cherish me, what was there worth sacrificing for?" I looked at her intently. "You never thought that I would endure you for 3 years. And now, I finally found the opportunity. Sigh, never provoke honest people again." After I finished speaking, I turned to leave. Chin's mother looked at me with a somewhat unpleasant expression. "Zeho, our family owes you an apology." I nodded. "You really owe me an apology. Ci is your daughter and you have repeatedly tolerated G for her. I don't believe that G had no contact with you at all while abroad." I shook my head. "All right, I won't say much about this matter. Just don't call me again in the future. I won't answer." Chin's mother's face turned pale and then flushed with embarrassment. I smiled. "Don't treat my Schwa family as a soft persimmon to be squeezed. I can tolerate Ci, but that doesn't mean I can tolerate all of you." Once everything settled down, Ci was rescued and out of danger. She immediately reported G. The two were suing each other, which was yet another clutch plot. People online gossiped about it every day. Seeing this, I couldn't help but find it somewhat amusing. She probably never thought that one day she would have a falling out with G like this. However, no matter what, none of this had anything to do with me anymore. May the rest of your life be well, and may we never meet again.